Salutations, dear viewers. This is George from Ireland, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Alfie Evans, the National Health Service, and the exploitation of this child's tragedy. So, Alfie Evans is a little boy in the United Kingdom, and he is terminally ill. The doctors have decided there is nothing they can do to save him, and they can't extend his life very much. His parents wanted to take him to the Vatican City for medical treatment. I was surprised by that because the Vatican City is minuscule, the smallest country in the world. Does it even have a hospital? But there we are. Anyway, for some reason this case went to court and a judge ruled that the parents could not take him to the Vatican City. Now, I don't know the particulars of the case. I'm not a doctor and I wasn't in court hearing the whole case. I'm minded to disagree with the judge, but then I don't know all the facts. I can't have heard as much as he has or she has, so perhaps I'm wrong. Anyway, courts make decisions all the time that people disagree with. At least half the people in the case are disappointed by that decision, which doesn't mean that we shouldn't have courts or we shouldn't have to abide by court rulings. Anyway, what is very upsetting about this case is the way politicians such as Ted Cruz and others have leapt on it and tried to exploit it in order to besmirch the reputation of publicly funded healthcare. And Cruz is suggesting this is something to do with publicly funded healthcare. This makes people subjects and not citizens. People in the United Kingdom are citizens. They're described as citizens. A very high majority of people want publicly funded healthcare. Incidentally, most people in the United States want publicly funded healthcare too, as opinion after opinion poll has proven, and want to keep the Affordable Health Care Act and Patient Protection Act. So, do courts in the United States ever make rulings on medical care? Yes, they do, about what's allowed, what's not allowed, and so forth. So, the National Health Service has saved millions of lives. May well have saved my life. I've been treated by it a lot. So, it is extraordinarily good and honourable institution, and yes, it has flaws, and I'm a right-winger, and I'm not minded to usually prefer publicly funded things, but in this case, despite its shortcomings, it's outstanding, and mostly I've been very satisfied with the care I've received there. Would I rather pay whatever it is in taxation and to get this care without actually putting my hand into my pocket directly, or would I rather have a tax which is a tiny bit lower, but pay through the nose for some trifling condition to be treated? Well, I'd certainly rather the former, and there are economies of scale. So the NHS is laudable in all sorts of ways. People in the United States live a shorter lifespan on average than the United Kingdom. So wouldn't that suggest the NHS is better than private healthcare? Now, I know there are lifestyle choices and all that. People can make these lifestyle choices in the UK as well. In the United Kingdom, even the poorest person is going to get brilliant medical care, among the best in the world. Whereas in the United States, in many cases, unless you're very wealthy, you're just going to die. And there'll be these insurance schemes, and if there's a pre-existing condition, they won't treat it, especially as the Affordable Health Care Act is about to go out the window. So it's really low and cynical of Ted Cruz and those of his ilk to seek to capitalise on private grief in order to advance their anti-public healthcare agenda, to make public healthcare unaffordable for many people. And Cruz bangs on about being a Christian, he's a Bible basher. What about compassion? What about helping people out? I know there's private charity, but clearly that's not enough because a lot of people do not have access to good healthcare in the United States. The good insurance schemes are prohibitively expensive, and it's going to go back to that. So people like Cruz, well, they don't want publicly funded healthcare, but they do want a publicly funded death penalty. They like publicly funded injections so long as they're lethal. Isn't there something a little bit wrong about that, being so eager to kill his fellow Americans and not to save them? Being so eager to have the police shooting about 1,000 people dead per year and not actually to save people? I know sometimes the police are right to kill people, but in more than a few cases they have not been right to kill people. This is not about one country against another country. It's not slagging off another country. And I can accept there are things that are wrong with the United Kingdom. There are things about the United States that are better. This is certainly not being anti-American, and there are many Americans who will agree with me. There'll be very few Britons who agree with Senator Cruz. So there was another person in the United States who's totally against publicly funded healthcare, and he was saying, "Oh, we need assault rifles because of the Alfie Evans situation, so that can't happen here." Who does he propose to kill? Judges, doctors, nurses? What? It's actually got nothing to do with the publicly funded healthcare system. It is a court that decided. It's not a hospital said that he's not allowed to go abroad for medical care. Don't quite understand why he's not being permitted to go there. But anyway, the ruling is that even if he goes there, he's got no chance of being saved. And by the way, there is privately funded healthcare in the United Kingdom. If people want to go private, they're allowed to do so. I have sometimes used private healthcare in the UK. So yes, it still exists, and yes, you will have that option. So it's about the law and making rulings on what healthcare can be provided, where people can go for that. Does the United States make laws on this? Yes, of course it does. So Congress or the state legislatures are entitled to make laws on that about medical care, as indeed they do. So really, this whole thing about the National Health Service is a red herring. It is some people who will do anything to besmirch the reputation of publicly funded healthcare and will not stoop. Also, will stoop to any level, no matter how nauseating, in order to try and prevent their fellow citizens getting publicly funded healthcare.